The right touch. In this video, you'll learn the right ways to touch women and get close to them in a physical way. One of the things lots of men miss is that the reason they end up all the time as the best friend or good listener has to do with the fact that they didn't physically get closer to women when they had the opportunity. Because when you meet a girl that you like, it's your task to slowly increase the physical contact between yourselves. So that one moment you take her by the hand, next moment you give her a hug, you kiss her on the cheek, give her a real kiss and sleep with her. If you as a man fail to do these things at the right time and when you have the right opportunity, then she's going to get two things from your inaction. Either you don't have any sexual interest in her or you don't trust yourself enough to take the next step. The worst part, you lose either way. That's why it's so critical that you learn how you can touch women in the right way. And the question is, how best to do it. At the beginning, the focus should be on getting the touch to increase as quickly as possible, or in other words, to break the physical ice. What I can recommend is that in your first introduction, you give her your hand, so there's some contact already, and give her a little bit of left and right, so you come a little bit closer and already had some touch in the equation. Once you got some pleasantries out the way, it's important that you quickly continue on. That means you should be making a lot of physical contact. Don't talk for, an hour without touching her at all, because later you're going to have a lot of difficulty in ramping up the touch. What I recommend is, as soon as you start to talk with her, find a reason to take her hand in yours. In my experience, one of the things that works best is trying to read her palm. In case you need help with that, then get yourself a copy as soon as possible of my free report, Genius Palm Reading Tips for the First Date. There you'll find an excellent palm reading technique that you can put into action immediately, and it can be yours right now with a single click on the free download button. Something that can also be very effective is when you touch her briefly in the middle of conversation, like touching her shoulder while laughing, or to underscore a point you just made. And that does two things. One, if you make it fast, she will get used to the idea that you're coming closer. And two, you'll see how she reacts to your touch without risking a rejection. At the next stage of physical contact, you can do something a little bit more intense. That can be, for example, if you sit next to the woman and start touching her leg a bit, almost accidentally. Another thing that works well is a gesture that comes across as very protective and considerate. If you're, for example, in a club or a bar and you change your tables or change where you're standing or go get a drink, you can put your hand on her lower back to kind of protect her and maneuver her through the club. And of course, don't do it in an annoying or controlling way, only in a way that shows you're paying attention. So just a light touch with your hand on her lower back. This sort of thing also works when the two of you are in a club and it's really loud. That's when you draw her closer, again with your hand on her lower back, so you can hear each other better. And the way she reacts to these little touches will really show you where you stand with that woman. If you get the feeling she's reacting well to it, then right after the palm reading, for example, you can sit her down on your lap. So you read her palm, perch her on your lap, take away your hand, and see how she reacts. Does she sit for a while there? Does she pull back immediately? These little reactions to the small physical gestures are 1,000 times more effective in showing you her interest than any other sign could be. Something that works really incredibly well is when you mix that interest with disinterest. This is a really advanced technique that I'd like to introduce for a second here. If she, for example, says something stupid in a conversation, then you say, "Oh my God, you're so exhausting," as you take her in your arms with a hug. "Oh man, you're wearing me out," So what you're doing here is making more physical contact, showing your interest at the same time as you push her away a little verbally. Exactly that is what women often unconsciously do with us men. They flirt with us one moment, only to completely ignore us the next, simply because they know unconsciously that this mixture of interest and disinterest really shows a lot of attraction. The next step of physical contact goes in the same direction. What I mean is, you go with her to the movies. This is the classic move. The man sits with a woman, then takes her by the arm and leads her subtly on his shoulder. That's the classic step right before the kiss. I think if you really take to heart this simple introduction to touch, then you'll notice that you'll not only be able to playfully and easily touch women in a way that's fun for both of you, but also that you'll quickly and smoothly come close to one another. I sincerely hope that you found this video helpful. Please give it a good rating and share it around with other men so that it can help them too. And if you'd like to get familiar with some of my best tips and tactics in a way not only about how to touch women, but also how to kiss them and sleep with them, then get yourself a copy of my free report, How You Can Get Just About Any Girl in Bed or in a Relationship. You can get it with one click on the free download button. Aside from that, I'll send you completely free PDFs, MP3s, and training videos that show you how to get women to touch you themselves. This material is absolutely full of secrets most men will never learn about how you as a man can really increase the physical contact between you and a woman as fast as possible so that you'll never again end up as the best friend or the listener. So click now on the free download button and we'll see each other on the other side in the free reports and training videos. Till then,